Curtain walls are drawn the same way that a normal Revit wall would be drawn, but there's a fairly big difference between a regular Revit wall and a curtain wall. Curtain walls are made of 3 different components: mullions, curtain grids, and the panels themselves. And we can see the mullions going around this wall here. The panels are the blue. We can't see them, but the curtain grids are things that divide the panels up into multiple panels, as well as allow the mullions to be applied to the inside face of your curtain wall system. To set these up so you don't need to model these individually every time that you want to draw a curtain wall, we can do that by executing the wall command, finding a curtain wall on the list, and in this case I want to pick the storefront curtain wall, and then from here selecting on Edit Type to go into the type properties of the curtain wall system. We can see here with the storefront curtain wall, and that's the type that we've been looking at on the screen, that you have your vertical grid and horizontal grid patterns built into the curtain wall system. So you can tell it that it has a spacing of 5 feet or a spacing of 8 feet. There's also layout options associated with these grids, which allow us to tell it whether or not this is a fixed distance between each of these panels, a fixed number, maximum spacing, or minimum spacing between each of the grids. From here, if we scroll down, we'll notice that there's also vertical and horizontal mullions associated with the curtain walls. These mullions can be any shape or size that you want them to be. All they need to be is a mullion family. And in this case, we can see that we have 4 different mullion families available to us, and we could pick any of those off the list, and then they would be any shape or size that we specified. The curtain walls also, just like a regular Revit wall, could have manufacturer information, URL information, which could lead back to a manufacturer's website, or even specs that show how this curtain wall is put together. So there's a variety of properties that can be adjusted and changed directly inside of the type properties of a curtain wall system. In this case, what I'd like to do is come up here and click on the word duplicate to create a new curtain wall type. Storefront 2 is probably a good name for it. If you wanted to give it a different name, that would be fine with me as well. But this will be a storefront system, very similar to the curtain wall system that we currently have. I'm going to click on OK to that. You notice that none of the properties have changed other than the fact that it says type here. What it's done is it's created a duplicate of the storefront system that we originally had highlighted. So all the settings are currently the same. But the next thing I'd like to do is where it has this vertical grid, I'd like to change this spacing to be 7 feet. For the horizontal grid, I want to do the same thing. I want to give this spacing 7 feet. We'll also notice that there's vertical and horizontal mullions. For the borders, I think I'm going to leave these to be the same, but for the interior type, I think I'm going to change them. So if we click inside of there, in this case, I'm just going to pick this 1-inch square and see what that looks like. And we're going to do the same thing down here for the interior type underneath the horizontal mullions. I'm going to do this rectangular mullion 1-inch square. Now that we have this type, I want to point out that if we come up to the type and storefront, if we choose the other one, we'll see the properties of the other one. They're still the same. But if we change it back to storefront 2, here's our new storefront system with its new set of properties. If we click on OK to that, now nothing has changed here because this is the same storefront system. So what we need to do with this command active and storefront 2 highlighted, click, and then click again to draw in another storefront system. And if we hit escape a couple of times on our keyboard, we'll now be able to see the new curtain wall system that we have in place. If we zoom in really tight, we'll see that it does have those much smaller mullions breaking up the individual curtain wall panels. So to create your own types so that when you want to just draw these in the project, you don't necessarily have to model these out individually, view to view, curtain wall to curtain wall. What you need to do is activate the curtain wall command, go into Edit Type, duplicate it, give it a new name, and then change any of the properties that are associated with the curtain wall so it matches the type properties that you need for your new curtain wall system.